and thinking about first instruments. And the reason why is because this Takamine GS330 would actually make a great first instrument. This is the one I just repaired. You can hear it. It's got great tone. And it puts up with a strum. Big sound, really, for a dreadnought. Of this price range. As you can hear, it still has a lot of sustain. Very nice. But, so it would make a really good first instrument. Do you remember your first instrument? Actually, mine was a tonette. You see the sign behind me, Palatine Bridge? Well, the Palatine Bridge had a small schoolhouse that I went to school in. Learned how to read and write and all those things. Had a great teacher, Mrs. Lupe. It was a one-room schoolhouse made of stone, and on the top of the schoolhouse was a big old bell. And I guess technically that was probably my second instrument, ringing that bell. That's another story for another time. In fact, you know what? I'll probably tell you that story at the end of this video, just for the sake of those that don't want me to take the time now and want to hear the difference between this Takamine and a Martin. That's what we're going to do today. So this guitar was found at a garage sale for $25, and I think the story is told on some earlier videos, and we did a little repair on the bridge and re-glued it, and so it's playing again, and it plays great, looks halfway decent. It's got its rings and dings. But it sounds great. It plays great. So what's the difference between this, which is like $400 new, of course I paid $25, and a $3,000 Martin, a D-35? Well, let's take a look. They are pretty much, these are the same in terms of the body size. This is 15.5 inch. They're the same in terms of the depth. This is 4 3/4, just like the Takamine. But, you know, you've got solid wood where the Takamine has laminated. And this is a rosewood 3-piece. And it's got has a spruce top where the Takamine had cedar. So they're apples and oranges. It's not a great comparison. But at the same time, I just want you to hear the difference between extreme pricing. Isn't that beautiful? Like I said, it's hard to compare. So, yeah, the Takamine is a great little guitar, and it'd be a great starter guitar. And for the price, you can't go wrong. The only thing I would caution you about is if you're trying to buy an instrument for a small child, a dreadnought is not a place to go. It's just too big for them. So So a smaller body guitar work a lot better, so that they can see, you know, what they're doing and feel comfortable wrapping around it and their shoulders not out to here. Which even for me, the Dreadnought, I mean, I could play them, but I'm much more comfortable with a triple O or an orchestra model, something smaller. But here it is, the Takamine GS, and I think it came out pretty good from the repair, and it sounds good, and yeah, so you can find these kind of deals when you go to garage sales and secondhand stores, and but sometimes they do need a fix. Now, if I was to send this instrument out to get the bridge repaired, it'd probably been about $350, $400. So it wouldn't have been worth it. So just tinkering around in my little shop to get it done, it wasn't a great loss if it went haywire, because it can. Those types of repairs can go bad real fast. And if that had been a $5,000 guitar, I probably would not have taken it into my shop to do that. Because my tools, you know, I think there's a few that need a little replacement. But hey, it went pretty good. So what about I promised you that story about the one-room schoolhouse that I went to on Palatine Bridge with a bell on top, and how I got to ring that bell. This was no ordinary bell. It was a big bell with a big fat rope that came down from a bell tower in that one-room schoolhouse. I learned to read and write there. I had a great teacher, Mrs. Lupe. Well, the children, there was few of us that got to ring the bell. And the only reason why we got to ring the bell is because we met certain criteria and it was a reward. And sure enough, I was selected. I was so excited. Selected to ring the bell at recess so the children could come in and from play get back to schoolwork. And so my name was on the list. I had the date and the time. I'm sure I drove everyone crazy telling them about how I was going to get to ring the bell. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ring that bell. And so the day came, and I went out to recess that day, but I left early because I was going to get to ring the bell, and I did not want to be late, not even a second. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to be on time. So I stood there with my hands around that big fat rope, watching a clock that was nearby, because at 12:30 I was going to pull it and clang. We're going to get all the kids back in because I rang that bell. And I stood there with my hands around the rope. And as I stood there, listening to the ticking of the clock and watching it go around, finally, just finally, that big hand made it to the 12:30 mark. And I pulled. And when I pulled, nothing happened. So I pulled again, and it didn't ring. And I pulled again, and I realized I was not strong enough. So I jumped. Nothing happened. And I started getting frantic. I was supposed to ring the bell at 12:30. And the bell wasn't ringing. So I thought, well, we're going to have to come up with another plan here. I saw a chair nearby. And I ran and got the chair and pushed it over and got up on the chair. And I dove from the chair to the rope, grabbed a hold of it, and now I found myself swinging back and forth. Back and forth. And I was a failure. I felt so deflated. I was so defeated that I didn't get to do what I anticipated, to hear that clang, to ring that bell. Tears began to drip down my face. And Mrs. Lupe, my first grade teacher, came over and reached her hand. I felt her hands wrap and she pulled, and that bell rang. What a wonderful teacher she was. She saved the day for me because I got to ring the bell. I needed a little help, but it was okay. I got to ring that bell. Sometimes life struggles, they're like that. You need a little help. And that's okay. Just make sure you get to ring that bell. Stay with it. Well, I guess that's all of the story for today. How I got to ring the bell in Palatine Bridge, New York. So I'm going to end here. Hopefully this isn't too long for you. But I also hope you have a great day wherever you are in this world.